My name is Mr. Swerve71. Today, I'm going to be playing a little bit of The Division 2. So, I haven't played this game actually in a long time. It's been a while. I think I haven't touched this game since, I want to say, last year. I got rid of it because it was crashing a lot, but now, it was crashing earlier too, but I just turned down my graphics and now it's working. It hasn't crashed yet, so hopefully it doesn't crash now that I say that. I just did a U-turn. I kind of just wanted to make this video, talk about The Division 2 since I haven't played it in a while. It's actually not that bad. Wanted to talk about a bit this game since I haven't played it in a while, and I want to start off by saying I really loved The Division 1. That game is honestly, it was so good. I played it back on my Xbox One. Definitely put a couple hundred hours into that game. I might have, I don't even know. It's a bit hard to say. Scope kind of sucks. So at first, I honestly really didn't like The Division, the first game, because
electronic device detected.
I had already played Ghost Recon Wildlands. I love Ghost Recon Wildlands. That game is just, if you want to have a good time in a game, get Ghost Recon Wildlands. That game is, it's not only good looking for the time, but it's also a very fun game. And it came out around the same time as, I think The Division 1 came out first, and then that game came out. Yeah, I feel like this game was 2014, 15. Not this game, the first Division, but Ghost Recon came out, and when I played Ghost Recon, I was like, yo, why is this game actually kind of fun, you know? Like driving around Bolivia and shit. And then when I played The Division 1, I'm like, yo, this game would be like so much better if you can like drive cars and shit, you know? Like imagine like driving down all this shit on like dirt bikes or motorcycles, you know? Or having enemies driving in with like in dirt bikes and motorcycles, you know? That shit would be like The Division game styled like Ghost Recon Wildlands or Breakpoint, maybe not Breakpoint, but anything like that would honestly be like super fun. So I played The Division 1 a lot because I enjoyed the gameplay. It was fun, but I just didn't really get into the mechanics of the game because as much as they were fun, it's just a lot of math. Not boring math, but still math. And you know, there was just a lot of shit about The Division 1 that was just like very confusing because the game also doesn't really explain it. It's just like, yeah, here's all these numbers, fucking figure out what it means. And it's like, yeah, it'll give you a hint or two, like, oh yeah, this correlates to that and this goes to that, but then I'm just like, what the fuck are you on about? I don't get what any of this shit means. And then played The Division 2, and it's just like, well, this is way more simple, you know? This is like way easier to get into than the first one, because the first one I was confused. I had no idea what the hell was going on. Granted, I'm still confused on this game. I'm not an expert in either of these games. It's just, I put a lot of hours into them, so I kind of feel like I know what I'm talking about. I can't give you the specifics, but I can definitely give you my opinion. Let me fight these guys real quick and then I'll give you my Oh yeah, this game is just. I've been playing these last few days, putting in a couple hours. I was level 30 when I quit. Now I'm level 33. It takes a bit. This late game. I'm an end game, you know, level 30 character. I already got the minigun and shit, you know. But honestly, like if you, this is actually probably a really fun game to start. You get into it, you know, learn the world a bit. It goes a doggo. If you already played the first game, you're probably if you played the first game and you haven't played this game, you need to play this game because it is just. I love the first game. Don't get me wrong. That game is like near and dear to my heart. But this game just kind of blows it out of the water.
You look like you know what's up. Care to join us?
But as I was saying, this game, if you already played the first game, you're gonna enjoy this game. However, for people who have never played the Division games, but you're also not too familiar with RPGs, like how they work and shit too. Because honestly, this game coming from like, if you just come from like Call of Duty and Battlefield or whatever the fuck else there is, then you'd probably be really confused about what the heck's going on in this game. But I'm here to tell you that it's actually not that hard. Like when you get started, yeah, it's a little hard because you kind of have to get used to the bullet spongy enemies, especially in the beginning. However, the beauty of this game and the Division games in general is your illusion of freedom,
Reinforcements en route.
of being able to create your own character. Like when most people start this game, they think, oh, I'm gonna stick to like assault rifles and shit, but then you get your first SMG that does a lot more damage. And that's fine. You know, use what you want. You don't have to stick to one gun.
Detected.
Which is fine. If you want to use assault rifles, you can go ahead and use assault rifles. If you want to use shotguns, you can use shotguns.
Detected.
It's all about your gear. But it's also about adapting to the circumstances, you know? Because like the thing about these kind of games is there's a lot of RNG. Like a lot of fucking RNG.
Heavily armored hostiles detected.
Hold up. It's really adapting to your situation, adapting to everything that's going on. I gotta change this fucking scope. So like for me, like obviously whatever your playstyle is, if you're more aggressive, if you're more passive, there's everything in this game to complement your style. Because yeah, there's people who maybe they're more run and gun.
Supply room access.
You want to use a light machine gun? That's fine. You can get a light machine gun.
Detected. Nearby location.
Just make sure you're using the right gear. Like I get that gremlin energy, you know. You want to use the shiny armor because it's shiny. You want to use You want to use all the fanciest gear with all the best stats and best attributes, best talents, you know? But it's, like, honestly, if you haven't played these games, you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's still very true though.
Detecting additional hostile contacts. Detected. The control point in proximity. Detected.
Ah, fucking hell. What do I mean? Are you still confused? Don't worry, I am too. But that's why I'm kind of making this video. I just want to talk about the game. I want to talk about what this game allows you to do, the freedom that entails it. Hey, you see? This is the kind of RNG I'm talking about. There's this gun right now in the store. I could have bought this gun, but because I didn't, and because now I'm exploring, doing random stuff like this, I unlocked this naturally, at my level, with some pretty decent stats. However, granted, my current equipment is not for assault rifles, so it's not doing the most damage it can do right now. My SMG is, my sniper rifle is, or my marksman rifle is. It's the kind of thing too. If you're a little bit of a gun nerd, the naming conventions in this game are really wacky. You know, they do shit like assault rifle, rifle, marksman rifle. It's like, it's a fucking rifle, bro. Like, I understand you want to like categorize, but like, damn, why can the thing for a marksman rifle not affect a rifle? Like, it's kind of shit you have to get used to, you know. You see, this is pretty good loot too. So it's definitely a very resource heavy game as well. I feel like it's a bit more resource heavy than the first game. The first game was more like you just collected stuff, and then you would use that stuff later on. This game is like, you collect stuff, but you actually have to use it. Like right now, I collected all that food and water.
We're good on supplies.
I can donate to these guys. And when you donate to these guys, they actually get some buffs.
Thanks.
So yeah, let me show you what I mean though. Let me go back. Let me go back over here. Monolith in the background. Alright. So, for the newbies who have never touched a Division game before, I'm going to break it down so that when you get into it, you actually know what you're doing. Now, I just want to say it again, I am not an expert at this game. Alright? Anybody who actually, like, dedicates time to this game and they look at my setup, they will tell you that it sucks. Or they will tell you that it's not optimal. Okay, and look, I don't care. And that's the whole point of this. You don't have to care. You just have to do what you think works. I also realized that the SMGs actually are very, very powerful. I started a new character and I got an SMG and I started getting more gear for SMGs and I started using them. I'm like, SMGs are actually pretty good. For some reason, in my head, I thought SMGs were worse than rifle or assault rifles, but no, they're pretty much the same. And not the same, but like in terms of effectiveness, they are the same. Because yes, SMGs are better for close quarters and rifles are better for distances, but that all depends on your playstyle. If you want to close the distance, use an SMG. If you want distance, use a rifle. Marksman rifle specifically. These things have like the most range in the game. Alright. gonna mark this as favorite. You can mark these for favorite, mark favorite for donation and for recalibration, which I think is super handy. That should have been in the first game, but for some reason they didn't include it. Anyways, as I was saying, you have all these options of guns. These are all the guns I'm carrying. I was using this rifle earlier because the damage on this thing is actually freaking insane. 130k, and also it has the talent breadbasket, which landing body shots adds a stack of bonus 55% headshot damage. The next headshot for 10 seconds. Max stack is 3. Okay. Now that's gonna be something you see in a lot of guns. Right. I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. Yeah. You see, if you never played these games, you're probably gonna see all these numbers and letters and words, and you're gonna be like, I don't want to read all that shit, and I don't blame you. I don't want to read all that shit either. However, it's very important information. It's not only important information, but it's critical information for you to know what build you're doing. Even if you're not, even if you're like me and you're not following a specific build, like a specific, like you want these things with these perks or whatever, you can just kind of play it by ear. So for example, let's just use my MP5 ST for example right now. This is my highest damage SMG that I have on my hand right now. I was using the MP5, it was doing 25 damage. But then I got this MP5 ST drop, more damage, gotta pick it. Not just that, but I get better SMG damage and better critical hit damage compared to. You can compare. Comparing is actually probably the best thing you can do. Because, I mean, you're going to be doing this a lot, honestly. I don't even have to freaking tell you this. If you've played any RPG game, you're going to be comparing a lot. However, it helps to actually press compare instead of going back and forth. So, last gun I was using was the MP7. Now, I see 25k, and I think that's really good. However, then I see 41k, or I think this is different, and I think, oh, that's a lot better. However, you can't just take into account the total damage. Now, this game, I just realized they actually got rid of the DPS. In the first division, they don't tell you the damage of the gun. They actually just told you the DPS, which I think that was part of the confusion about it. Is that some guns had more DPS than others. However, that didn't necessarily mean they were stronger than the others, or maybe they were. I don't know. I'm still confused about it. However, in this game, you actually have to compare all the stats, which is something you should be doing anyways. But you compare everything and you see which one you think is better, and it's honestly not even that hard to see. For example, this not only does this one have more damage, but it has less RPM, rounds per minute. However, it also has a smaller magazine compared to the MP7. However, it does have better optimal range and higher damage, but not just higher damage in total damage, or base damage, as I will say. It also has a better core attribute damage. Now, core attributes are basically like an extra for every gun. Every gun is obviously the name of the gun, the what kind. For example, since I'm level 30, I'm mostly dealing with superiors and high ends, which are purple and gold or yellow, whatever you want to say. Then you have specialized, which is like, I guess this is like the highest level of low tier. You know, when you're starting off the game, I think it's like gray. All your guns are gray. And then you slowly get like green, and then you get blue, and you finally move up to the purples, and then you finally just mostly deal with high ends, but you still get a lot of superiors and a couple of specialized. Then you have the category. Obviously, you got submachine gun, assault rifle, all that jazz, shotgun. It even tells you the ammo type. So you know, that's useful. That's kind of, you know, self-explanatory. And you got headshot damage, obviously. Most guns have pretty decent ones. I think, yeah, there's marksman rifles tend to have higher headshot damage, and obviously that can be increased. Like this core attribute is plus 82. It's pretty damn good for a marksman. Anyways, I keep getting off topic here, but then we have the SMG core attribute. I compare the two. Uh, Mostly is going to be this damage and then critical something, either critical hit chance or critical hit damage. These two are critical hit chance. So you see, I saw that this is plus 7.2 SMG damage, which is the best I had compared to like this one, which is 2.1. But then I got the MP5 ST, and I see that it has 10.4 SMG damage. Like, not only does it have more base damage, now it has more attribute damage as well. That's pretty damn good. And then I see critical hit chance, 14.5 compared to the 5% I was working with. Like, it's a pretty good freaking bonus. And I'm telling you, like, this is like high level shit. When you were like starting off in the base game, or like when you decide to like get the thing that boosts you to level 30, I kind of don't really recommend boosting to level 30. I mean, if you want to save time and you just want to like get into the game, like get into like what I have on my screen, you can use the boost. However, if you want to like get into the game, like actually learn the core of the game and actually like, you know, play the story, then I recommend just starting from level 1 or level 0. It's just you'll learn everything that I'm kind of explaining. I'm not even explaining, I'm just ranting. I'm just like trying to explain capitalism to a squirrel. But then you have weapon handling, which is another thing in gear, but we'll get to that. So all weapons, like most games, they have their accuracy, they have their stability, they have reload time, and they have damage drop off. Very self-explanatory. I don't think I have to get into this. However, you can modify your weapons, which is great. Like I have this red dot and this silencer on this MP7, and I basically have the same getup for the MP5. And those help with accuracy and stability and all of this. Essentially, everything, including magazine size and optimal range and headshot damage and that, all of that can be affected by mods. So try to find your mods. And the great thing I love about the Division 2 is not like the Division 1, where if you wanted to put a specific scope on your gun, that like, you know, is like the best scope you have, you had to take it off of another gun and put it on that gun, which is fine, unless like, you know, you want to have multiple loadouts. Okay, that's another thing. I'm just gonna quickly loadouts. You can create loadouts, so like you can do what I'm doing and kind of just like eyeball it, like have all this gear, have all the gear come here, and then do your setup, do your build, and like build from there. Or you can like, if you find stuff that works for a build but it's not working for your build, you can save it and then create a loadout with that gear. That way you don't have to consistently change every single piece of gear to work with one gun. You can now just have it all saved and then switch to that. I should do that, but I'm not going to because I'm stubborn like that. And even in the first Division game, I didn't do that. It basically forces you to create a loadout. And then I just have to constantly update that loadout because that's what I want to use now. Anyways, I'm still getting way off topic. Talents. Anyways, once you get to talents, that's when you really start customizing. Now, every gun has a talent, and you can like switch these out, but that's like a whole nother thing that I don't even want to go into explaining. But each gun you find in the world that, you know, is high, superior level and up, has a talent. And each talent, although some talents on certain guns don't make any freaking sense. Because you're just like, why? Why is this useless ass talent with this useless ass gun? And that's kind of the purpose of switching them out. However, you would also find many similar guns like these two. These two are the same, well, not these two, but these two are the same exact gun. However, this one has a talent of reformation, which means headshots grant 60% skill repair for 15 seconds. Now, what's skill repair? It's basically like your equipment that you have. Skill. When you see skill repair, skill damage, stuff like that, that's talking about these things down here. These are your skills, which the game will tell you about, but you don't really have. I don't worry about skills damage because I don't focus on damage. I focus more on like healing, making sure I don't die. But these ones on the other hand, this one is headshots grant 60% skill repair. Now, if you have a skill that requires repair, that's great. That's useful. However, say you don't, you instead get this one, which is you gain 10% critical hit damage for every 0.5 seconds you are firing. Stacks up to 5 times. That sounds useful for a rifle, because you're probably going to be firing a lot. So sometimes you get a pretty decent skill in damage, and then sometimes you get a pretty decent talent in skills. And that's why you kind of have to look for your gun, or if you don't, maybe you can like switch it out if you can. Anyways, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Originally, I started this video with the intention of like trying to create a tutorial. But it's just, look, I'm not an expert in this game. However, I'm also an enjoyer of fun, and I don't like it when games aren't fun. And trust me, when I started, I was very confused, and the game was not fun. Besides the crashing, but so far it hasn't crashed. So I'd say lowering the graphic settings definitely help. However, you should just stick to what you think is fun, or what you think is useful. For example, what I like to do is I like to have a high DPS or a high damage, like fast gun, whether it be a SMG rifle or assault rifle or a light machine gun. And then I like to go with a high damage, long range or short range. For example, marksman rifles and shotguns are probably the most high damage weapons you can get. As soon as you can, get a marksman rifle. Trust me, it will make your experience way smoother. And get some gear with marksman rifle upgrades. Because trust me, these things kick ass. Alright? Now, I do this for 2 reasons. One, so that I can have a fun gun. Just spray and shoot, cut people down, That's always fun. Then I always get the marksman rifle for precision, as you witnessed in my gunfights. Speaking of which, I kind of want to switch. So you're gonna have to make a lot of compromises in this game, that's for sure. So what I do is I keep the SMG for close range. There's a lot of close range enemies in this game, as well as the first game. There's always melee based enemies, Then in this game, I think in the first game too. Yeah, no, the first game too. But it's like the shield enemies, the motherfuckers who always come at you with the ballistic shields. Those guys are a pain. However, those are a pain if you have a slow firing weapon. However, if you have a fast firing weapon, it's relatively easy to deal with them. But then you do have snipers and you do have other long range enemies, and sometimes you don't want to get close to them because they will fuck you up. So I use the marksman rifle, pick them off from a distance. pick them off before they get too close for comfort. However, of course, sometimes they do get too close, and that's what the MP5 is for. You cut them down when they get too close. And pistol is kind of just whatever the highest damage pistol is. Right now I'm just using a 1911. It's still pretty good. Look, if you can at least take out one enemy with your pistol, then that's a decent enough pistol in my books. I'm gonna go a bit into detail with the gear. So you have 6 pieces of gear. You have the masks, you have the backpacks, you have the vests, gloves, holsters, and knee pads. I'm not gonna get into each of these because these are all like their own separate thing. However, I just want to like get into the basics. For example, there's the name of the mask, what level the mask is, the protection. Every piece of armor has attributes and they have talents. However, they also have core attributes, which means it's like one big change and then like 2 smaller changes and then a talent. I think mask, gloves, knee pads, holsters do not have talents. Backpacks and vests do have talents. However, that's not the best thing about these gears. So like that's like the basic, but what you really want to look for when you're playing this game is brands. You probably be familiar with a couple of these brands and a couple you probably never heard of in your entire life. If you're like ex-military or like into like tactical gear, then you probably recognize a couple of these brands. I more recognize the guns just because, gun guy. However, the brands are very important because I don't remember if they did this in the first game, but I think they did it more with like exotic gear. I don't remember too well. It's been a while since I played the first division, but basically brands provide bonuses. Each when you equip or when you see one you find in the wild, there will be you will be the first thing you see under the brand name is what it will give you when you equip it. And that's just equipping one gear. However, as you can tell, there are 2 more under each one. Now, if you have only one brand, you only get the one effect. So even though it says like damage to health, it won't let me do that or gain access to that because I don't have 2 more items of Walker Harris and Co. Same thing with this Sokolov concern. I only get the SMG damage, which is really all I want. However, I don't get the critical hit damage and I don't get the critical hit chance, which would be very useful. However, I don't have it, so tough luck. And same thing with this one. I don't even want to pronounce that, but I only get the plus 15% magazine size, which is pretty useful for the SMGs, pistols, and marksman rifles. However, what gets spicy is when you get all 3. So I have an electric backpack, an electric holster, and electric knee pads. Now you see what I'm talking about. I have 2 high-end gear, 3 superior gear, and then I have a specialized. Like that's a little lower tier. Why would I equip that? Well, funny enough, it's actually a lot better protection than the one I had before, but it's also the only other third electric I have. I don't have electric gloves. I don't have an electric vest. I don't have an electric mask. All I have is this electric holster. However, it matches with my electric backpack and my electric knee pads. And because of that, because I have all 3 brand, I get the status effects. I have shock resistance, and I get plus 30 SMG damage, which is insane. I think I was using this one before. It has more armor, and it has more weapon damage, weapon handling, and critical hit damage. However, it's an Artemis or Rayleigh Holdings, so all I'll get is marksman rifle damage, which is fine. Marksman rifle damage is great. However, the marksman rifle is already a lot of damage, so it doesn't really need more damage. It's already enough to knock out a couple of high-end enemies, or like boss enemies or whatever, or captains or whatever. However, because I have this electric holster, I get plus 30 SMG damage, which is super useful for the SMG damage. Plus, I get repair skills and status effects, which I think is useful for my my setup, and I also get a skill tier, which isn't bad. None of it's bad because in the end I get the SMG damage. You know, maybe if I find another electric mask or something, I'll switch it and change this one. But for now, I'm using the electric holster because I'm getting plus 30 SMG damage. It's worth it. It's just you gotta make compromises. Like, look, this is all out of whack, you know. Like I have plus 3. I forget what these are. Man, I have not played this game and I have not played these games in so long. Hey, look, you can get tutorials. I don't gotta explain this shit to you. Can you just search it up over here? I'm kidding. Thank you for watching. But yeah, I think I've been ranting here for like an hour or so. So I think I'm just gonna roam around a bit more. Kind of just show you what's
Friendly combatants detected.
show you what's up. So I'm telling you, this is just kind of what this game's about. What both games are about. You kind of just go place to place. I kind of recommend also not fast traveling as much. Like, I get it if you're short on time, fast traveling is a godsend, but these games are really made for exploring, and they really reward you for exploring too. Because it's not like other games where it's like, oh yeah, there's a set thing here and a set thing there, so it's like you have to go. Really just gotta figure it out. Yeah. You get to level 30, you can do shit like this.